Good afternoon and welcome to another afternoon edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. Guys and girls, I'm a retired New York City police detective with 20 years of law enforcement. And if you like all things true crime related from the police perspective, please hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon when I go live or upload another video. Today we have breaking news coming out of Alabama. Cassie Carli's autopsy results inconclusive, undetermined. We waited 6 months. This is shocking news, to say the least. I got word of it early this morning from Ray, Cassie Carli's sister. I held quiet on it. JB from WFLA Now, my good friend, went live with it. I had to come and give you guys a preview. Tonight, Ed Wallace and I at 9 p.m. Eastern, we are going to be on live with Barbara Butcher, the retired New York City medical examiner, chief of staff. Barbara, as you guys all know, some of the regular returning viewers, some of the new viewers might not know, but we have a retired chief of staff from the New York City Medical Examiner's Office. She is part of the Crime Time with DutyRon team. She's going to come on tonight, and she's going to tell us in no uncertain terms what this means. We talked on previous live streams about this situation. And Cassie Carli, as you know, 37 years old, now 38, a mother of a small baby girl, Sailor Carli. She did a custody exchange over in Juan Pagoda's parking lot on 3/27, March 27th, and she was reported missing on 3/28 as missing. And we all know what happened and what led us up to today. So, guys, I want to say a special thank you to the Patreon supporters, the channel members, and all the folks who positively engage here. You guys are what makes this a great place, and we give thanks and praise to each and every one of you for your positive engagement. You know, questions in the chat, questions in the comment section down below. It's always appreciated. So thank you to each and every one of you. So this is really, really frustrating. The questions are coming from, will he be released? Is he going to get away with this? The answer is, the short answer is no. He is not going to get away with it. He stands charged with tampering with evidence, destruction of evidence, giving false information to law enforcement on a missing persons case, and tampering with the human remains. Those are some serious charges. He has right now court cases that are pending and that have been postponed. But I'm going to play just a small piece of what JB, my good friend JB from WFLA Now, played earlier today. Yes, Cassie Carli's remains were cremated by her family. They weren't cremated by her family because they wanted to cremate her. They were given the okay and the blessing by the law enforcement authorities. Therefore, we would have to say, and it's a reasonable person to believe, that they have sufficient amount of DNA and body samples for them to release Cassie Carli's remains to their family. They don't tell them what to do with it. They made the choice on their own. But at the end of the day, law enforcement, they are not, this is not the first go around. So they know that in a trial, a defense attorney could question DNA or want more samples to do their own forensic testing. So there's always additional and extra. We'll get into it tonight with Barbara. We're going to talk about the proper terminology and the proper wording for these samples. So don't jump to conclusions that Marcus Spanavello is going to get away with it. This, again, is just a preview for tonight's show. So let me just play a little piece from WFLA Now. And I think we were all freaked out when we heard this. By a show of hands here, who in the chat was listening to this live broadcast when JB went live today? I didn't hear it live. I heard the replay. But when you guys heard it going on, by a show of hands in the chat, how many of you were freaked out that it said inconclusive, basically undetermined? That's a huge pill to swallow. So let's take a peek. Let's take a peek at this and let's listen in. This was from earlier.
News on WFLA Now. Here's JB Buno.
An autopsy report that gives no answers, but rather drops massive questions into the death of Florida mother Cassie Carli, whose manner of death has not been ruled a homicide and a cause of death that remains a mystery according to the county coroner's office. Hey there, folks. JB here with you live on WFLA Now. This is a developing story as we are learning about this from the St. Clair County Coroner's Office that has received the completed autopsy report on Cassie Carli. You can read about it right now by clicking on the link in the description on this video. If you don't want to hear it from me, if you want to read the very latest, you can do so on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, or one of our sister station websites as well. Just look for the link in the description on this video. But for now, we're going to break down the very latest with what we know. There was two big things with the completed autopsy report for Cassie Carli. And before I break those down, let me remind folks of the Cassie Carli story. Cassie Carli going missing in March of this year after a custody exchange of her 4-year-old daughter with her ex-boyfriend by the name of Marcus Spanavello. After the custody exchange, Cassie Carli went missing, launching a massive multi-state search effort from Florida into Alabama, and then, of course, crossing into Tennessee. We'll get into all this, I'm sure, in a little bit, but
just so you guys know, this was the overview from about a few hours ago. JB and I are good friends. Miss Robin put a statement on, be careful, JB will strike you. He's not going to strike me. His company that he works for, again, has strict guidelines on how you use their content. And the difference between what goes on here at Crime Time with DutyRon and maybe some other channels who have been struck by him, we don't use his content exclusively for our live streams. We use it to supplement it. So that's just a bit of an education for some of the new folks coming in. JB and I are friends. We communicate with each other. As a matter of fact, he gave me an invite to come on into his broadcast, into his new live streaming studio. So we're going to, somewhere down the road, we'll make an appearance on WFLA Live. So it'd be pretty good. But Barbara Butcher from the New York City Medical Examiner's Office, she is going to join us tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you come on in at 9 p.m. Eastern. Ed Wallace, myself, Barbara Butcher, we are going to talk about this particular set of circumstances. In the investigative field, we refer to this as a cuppy. Any of you guys were in on the live stream that we did is on Kylie Rodney. We talked about the autopsy and the release of the cause and manner of death. Barbara Butcher said in that live stream, the last appearance she made, she said, hopefully we do not get the dreaded cuppy. And that's what we have here. And basically it is cause undetermined pending police investigation. So cause and manner of death would be determined under a cuppy by further police investigation. It cannot be determined by scientific investigations. So we're going to get into that tonight. Let's listen in a little bit more to what JB Bununo, my good friend JB from WFLA Now, said today.
I'm sure a lot of our audience very familiar with the Cassie Carli story. Cassie Carli's body, her remains, were found in a shallow grave in a barn in St. Clair County, Alabama, and quickly arrested was Marcus Spanavello in Tennessee. And the charges were not related to her death, but rather tampering with evidence, even though we had a press conference from Sheriff Bob Johnston at the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office that pretty much indicated that they were highly confident that they had their man, that they had the person responsible for Cassie Carli's death. Then the wait began, and a very lengthy wait, approximately six months waiting for the autopsy. The reason that Spanavello, as investigators would say, wasn't facing charges is because of the fact that they were waiting on the completed autopsy report out of Alabama. Remember now, Florida officials, they do not have control of the autopsy process. They're not involved in any way, shape, or form, of course, because of Cassie Carli's body and her remains being found in Alabama over state lines. So it took a lengthy 6 months for the completed autopsy report to be finalized. It has been finalized. I anticipate having the actual document in hand, but I spoke with the St. Clair County coroner this morning, and he indicated to me two significant things. First, that the cause of death is undetermined. The cause of death is how the person died, whether it was, and I'm just listing off some other common occurrences for an autopsy of this magnitude, something like a gunshot, or a drowning, or blunt force trauma, all the different ways, of course. And, folks that follow true crime, I'm sure, very familiar with the different causes of death that comes along with somebody who is the.
Let me just be clear about this. This does not mean by any stretch of the imagination that Marcus Spandabello is going to get away with if, in fact, he did commit this crime. This does not mean in any way, shape, or form that he is scot-free and off the hook. This is just telling us that under scientific means, that they were not able to determine if she was poisoned through the tox report or anything was introduced into her system that would cause her demise, to cause her to die. There was no clear evidence of either gunshot wounds, strangulation, any type of blunt force trauma, things of that nature. I don't want to go completely into this because tonight we're going to go into details. 9 p.m. Eastern with Barbara. Let me just say hello to a couple of folks coming on in. Sweet Caroline, I love that screen name. She says, this is terrible. I agree. This is the worst case scenario, but it isn't the end of everything. I want to play for you quickly a press conference. This press conference came to us a long time ago. Sheriff Bob Johnston from Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office. He did a press conference on April 3rd of 2022. And in that press conference, we were very confident that they had quite a bit of evidence and that this, under no uncertain terms, was going to be a slam dunk case. Let's listen into Sheriff Bob as he speaks, Bob Johnston. I want you guys to hear what he had to say. This is April 3rd of 2022. And this is the press conference after they discovered Cassie Carli's remains in a shallow grave in Alabama. So let's listen in.
All right. Thank y'all for coming out. We have had a development in the missing person case in Navarre. First off, I'm joined by Mark Alderman from the State Attorney's Office. So Cassie Carli.
Let me know if the audio is good by putting a 1 in the chat. Let me know if the audio is good. I think it's pretty good on this end. I just want to make sure everyone can hear it.
Who's been missing now for about a week. We discovered her body while executing a search warrant in Alabama. It was in a barn in a shallow grave. So it's not the ending that we wanted, obviously, but we're hoping to provide a little closure for the family. And also, as you know, as we reported earlier, the suspect is currently in jail in Maury County, Tennessee, on charges of tampering with evidence and giving false info reference missing persons investigation. Our major crimes unit, I can tell you this, I've never been more proud of them. They've served multiple search warrants in multiple states, traveled over 1,500 miles in a week.
All right, I'm going to tell you why the audio is low on this is because it's coming out of one side. It's not on my end. It's how it was broadcast. So I have 2 headphones in. If I use my right, it's low. If I use my left, it's good. So if you have a pair of headphones or earbuds, just use the left one. The left side channel is where it's broadcasting through, and it's loud and clear on the left side.
Searching for evidence in reference to this crime. So I want to thank them, but I also want to thank FDLE, FBI, Fish and Wildlife, Tennessee Highway Patrol, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, Alabama Investigation Division, St. Clair County SO, Alabama, Springfield PD, Alabama, Walton County, Bay County, and Okaloosa County for their assistance. That tells you how far out this went. We're just proud that we've got this guy in custody. Obviously, more charges will be pending, depending on the autopsy, which will occur tomorrow morning. If you have any questions in reference to extradition or charges that will be pending on him, I'll defer to the state attorney. So do you have questions? Yes.
Do you guys know how she was killed?
No. The autopsy will reveal that tomorrow, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Absolutely not. No.
What was the tip or what was the information that led you guys to this place in Alabama? Are you guys revealing where she was found exactly?
No, and we're not revealing how we found that location either right now. So you got to remember it's an ongoing investigation. So we can just tell you that we had information that led us to that place. We got a search warrant and we discovered the body.
Sorry, you may have said her body was found overnight or this morning.
It was found yesterday evening.
Is the shed connected at all to Mr. Spanavero?
It is in a roundabout way, but we can't get into that either. But he does have a connection to the property.
Are you able to say if the body was found like out in the open or covered or?
No, a shallow grave.
Regarding the previous charges, can you get it all into what evidence?
But yeah, she's been checked on by the Tennessee Department of Children and Families, and she's safe.
I know you said he wasn't cooperative. Is he speaking now that her remains have been discovered?
No, all he said was lawyer. That's all he said.
And does he have any known criminal history with this department or any other that you know of?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
In terms of extradition, when can we expect him back here, or is he fighting that?
Mark?
All right, so this was just a press conference. I wanted you guys to hear that. That was from back in April. Again, the audio is not on my end. It's just that's how that one went. If you, I grabbed out my second side earbud, so it went into my left ear. I was able to hear it perfectly. If you listen on the replay, just listen on with your headphones. I'm sure I'll get a bunch of comments that the audio is low. Again, there's nothing I could do about it. But tonight we're going to go over this in depth. We're going to talk with retired Chief of Staff from the New York City Medical Examiners, Barbara Butcher. She's going to give us the 411 on everything and everything when it comes to
listing off some other
this case and what kind of what we're going to be looking at going forward. And Ed Wallace, he worked under Barbara. She was his supervisor. So Ed Wallace worked in the New York City Medical Examiner's office. And like I said, listen, this is, you can, really go down some bad rabbit holes here, but I can tell you under no uncertain terms, this does not mean that Marcus Spanavello is getting off scot-free. He still faces a slew of charges: tampering with evidence, that's human remains; destruction of evidence, that's throwing her cell phone, Cassie Carli's cell phone, out of the vehicle; giving false information on a missing persons report, and various other crimes as well. So he again, like I said, he again is not going to walk scot-free. He's in jail. He's not getting out. He's been in jail ever since ever since he was taken into custody, and I believe that date was April 2nd of 2022. So he's been locked down for 6 months. He's not going anywhere, and that's the good news. The good takeaway from this is that he's not going anywhere. So please don't get caught up in any of the hoopla. And like I said, again, the audio was low, not because of me on my end. It was because of the actual news coverage. And there was a couple of funny comments. It's 2022 for crying out loud. How come the news can't have these news conferences figured out? It was coming through the left channel and it wasn't coming through right and left. So that's the problem. You have to, when you listen back to something like that, you got to listen with two sets of earbuds. Again, let me say hello to everybody in the chat. Diane, Miss Donna, hello, Sandy. Good to see you, Tara. I know, Tara, you've been on top of this quite a bit. Thank you for staying on top of it. Let's listen to a little bit more of some of JB's coverage, and let's hear what he had to say. This was just earlier today.
This magnitude, something like a gunshot or a drowning or blunt force trauma, all the different ways, of course. And, folks that follow true crime, I'm sure, very familiar with the different causes of death that comes along with somebody who is the victim of homicide. But I say victim of homicide, even more surprising, the county coroner telling me the manner of death, which is homicide, suicide, they determined that to be undetermined. So they could not, based on the remains that were found in St. Clair County, Alabama, they could not determine how Cassie Carli died, and they could not determine her manner of death, whether she was in fact murdered. These two massive unknowns throw a bigger unknown into this investigation, as Marcus Spanavello was supposed to have his trial on tampering charges begin this week in Sarasota County Court. But abruptly this morning, the judge in that case allowed a continuance for, of course, the trial to continue next week. So we do not know, and I've been trying to find out whether or not the continuance, the postponement of Marcus Spanavello's trial is in any way, shape, or form connected to, of course, the news that we have here regarding the completed autopsy report. But the completed autopsy report, I was told last week, or excuse me, I was told today that it was completed last week, and then, of course, sent out to the various departments and agencies that by law have to receive them for things to, of course, move forward.
Well, let me just keep that comment on the screen. Thank you for that comment, April. And I know a lot of people are going to continue to send that comment or things like this comment in on the live stream. The tox report was also inconclusive. It didn't show that she was poisoned. It didn't show she was drugged. Ed Wallace and I, remember we speculated that there's probably a good chance that Cassie Carli was knocked out some way, shape, or form, and then driven from the Florida location, from Juan Pagoda's parking lot, into Alabama at that property in a shallow grave outside a barn, inside a barn area. Again, you know, now that there is a her body was cremated, you can't go back and do another autopsy. So that is definitely you know, a crutch here. This is not helping that we don't have her remains to conduct additional testing. Example, the family to hire a you know, somebody in the business in the field to conduct their own independent autopsy. That's now not on the plate, but they do take a significant amount of evidence. Example, fluids, tissues, things of that nature. Barbara will go into that tonight in more details, and so will Ed. So with those items there available, you know, additional testing can happen. And again, law enforcement, the investigators are not showing us their cards. They're not giving us what they have. So we don't know. Maybe the autopsy would have been a icing on the cake, sealing of the deal. But if they have a tremendous amount of circumstantial evidence, example, text messages on how to kill somebody or how to dispose of a body, electronic communication from Marcus to other individuals, you could still have something investigative wise that can bring justice for Cassie Carli. All right, let me go over to the chat and look. You know, everybody's like, well, you know, she's found in a shallow grave. How could this not be homicide? There was no video cameras to show who put her there. There's no video cameras to show how she got there, and so forth. So you can't just go on speculation. Sean B., good to see you. Thank you for joining. Follow the Green and Your Wood is here. Hi, Rosemary. Thank you for joining. Thanks for joining. He's not going to get away with it. I'll tell you that right now, because again, there's quite a bit that we don't know. We have no access to this case file, and we hope and pray. Listen, I had Ray, I had Cassie's sister on the phone with me this morning. Her voice was crackling. She was definitely shooken. You know, she was shook up by this outcome, and she called me on the phone, and you know, I didn't know exactly what to tell her, but we talked for quite a bit, and you know, we're gonna again. We're going to get through this. We're going to talk about it tonight. We're going to get into it and get your questions ready. I would say send your questions over on to DutyRon.com. Barbara's going to give us about 35, 40 minutes, and then we'll do the rest with Ed, and we'll talk about this case. We'll talk about what's going to happen going forward. But yeah, I mean, listen, Marcus Manivello, in no uncertain terms, he reeks of guilt. Everything points to him. This woman, Cassie Carli, let me put her on the screen. She did not just disappear out of thin air. She disappeared when there was a custody exchange between her and the baby's father. So that's how it goes. Right now, it's not the best set of circumstances. Yeah, people here in the chat, like Sean B., he's 100% guilty. But you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law that he's 100% guilty. You can't just do it based on, he's connected to that property. Well, there's no video cameras. There's no video evidence of him taking her and bringing her out there. If there was, this conversation would be different. They're going to be relying on things that will tie him unequivocally, beyond a reasonable doubt, to a jury of his peers that he, in fact, did murder Cassie Carli. That has to be proven, and the burden of proof is on the state. And the state, without proper proof, cannot prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. So that's what we're going to discuss tonight. Everything medical examiner wise. Karma. She says, just ask OJ. OJ got off based on a lot of sloppy evidence collection by the detectives. I don't think that the prosecution, had as strong a case that the defense, the dream team, Johnny Cochran and company, came up with quite a bit of damning evidence against the police and how they collected their evidence. So that was unfortunate. All right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I spent 30 minutes here with you on this case. I just want you guys to hear a little bit. He brings on a lawyer here, and this guy is pretty good. Peter Tragos. He is the lawyer and he got some fame and fortune from covering the Amber Heard case with that just played out on national television. Everybody was covering this thing, and Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, it was all over the place. Let's listen to a little bit of what he has to say, because he gives you the criminal defense side. So when he first started talking with JB, it was pretty interesting.
Very familiar with Peter's work. Peter, good to see you. I haven't spoken to you in a while. How are you today?
What's up, man? I'm doing well.
I'm sure that you, perhaps like so many others, your eyebrows raise when you hear about the Cassie Carli story and the ruling here in the autopsy that the cause of death and the manner of death are undetermined. Now, the Santa Rosa County District Attorney's Office, as we understand it, Peter, they were unable to proceed with charges against Spanivello related to Cassie Carli's death. They couldn't do that because they were waiting for the completed autopsy report. Before I start to ask you a lot of legal questions here, what do you make of this case, how you've been following it from here in Tampa Bay?
There's just so many unknowns with a case like this, and I see people, especially law enforcement, people speaking on their behalf, condemning her ex about not being cooperative and not speaking to police and not helping find his child's mother. Well, this is one of the reasons why, because when you have a situation like this where there's so many unknowns, most of the time criminal defense lawyers are going to advise that their client plead the fifth and not say anything, whether they're guilty or not. And I know a lot of people like to go in the news and say that that's an admission of guilt, but in reality, it's not, because it is the burden, the constitutional rights of the defendant to have the state have to prove their guilt. And you're seeing now in a case with so many unknowns, why that burden is so high. A lot of the cases we see that go to trial, you see all the evidence that the state has, you see them presented, and it seems easy, but it's not that easy to gather the evidence to hold such a high burden. And in this case, especially without being able to determine a cause of death or even that it was a homicide, it would have been close to impossible. Maybe they shouldn't even legally or morally bring charges against him without this information. And that's what we learn when we find out about the results of the autopsy in a case with so many unknowns. This was one that would keep them from getting over such a high bar as beyond a reasonable doubt for him causing this death.
I have the quote here from an April 3rd press conference from Sheriff Bob Johnston. I'm going to read the quote saying, Spanavello was totally uncooperative. He never cooperated with us, and that goes a long way. It's your baby's mother, and she's missing, and you're not going to cooperate with authorities. That's kind of telltale. I think he's either going to spend the rest of his life in prison or he's going to get the needle. Hopefully, the needle. End quote from Sheriff Bob Johnston, April 3rd, following the arrest of Marcus Spanavello. Peter, I would imagine it's relatively common. I mean, there were a lot of people asking questions as to why Spanavello was not charged in relation to Cassie Carli's death, facing, say, a murder charge. I would imagine that it's pretty standard practice to not be able to file those charges until you have a completed autopsy report. Is that correct?
That's correct. And it's possible to still file charges at this point. But as we all know, prosecutors are supposed to seek justice, and they're supposed to seek a just outcome. They're not there just to get convictions and have high win rates. So I give kudos to prosecutors that wait for the evidence like this. And if there's not enough, they don't overcharge. They don't go after something that has got a lot of media attention. And maybe they still could convict him of murder, even without a cause of death, if a jury buys it and a jury convicts him. But that's why the first basically line of defense in our constitutional rights in the criminal justice system really is with law enforcement and the prosecuting attorneys making these charging decisions. They feel they have enough for the other crimes that they've charged him with. But while we don't know a lot, and this autopsy result has given us more unknowns, it has also answered some questions for us, right? We know that that this cause of death was not a gunshot wound or blunt force trauma or strangulation or, drugging or something like that, to where an autopsy would reveal foul play and homicide and potentially murder, like we have seen in other cases that you cover on your show. Autopsy reports can tell us a lot with what they say and with what they don't say.
But when we have, here's my biggest question with this, Peter, because we have the manner of death, or excuse me, the cause of death being undetermined. Like you said, they weren't able to determine if it was a gunshot, strangulation, blunt force trauma. But the manner of death, where they categorize it as, say, homicide or suicide or accidental death, they couldn't even determine that Cassie Carli, center of your screen here, was a victim of homicide. So
this is what I'm going to talk to Barbara Butcher about tonight and Ed Wallace. We're going to talk about cause and manner. And when they don't come up with cause and manner, and they're unable to come up with an answer to those things, I'm going to ask them under no uncertain terms, what's next? Where do they go? What do investigators do? Marcus Spanavello is still behind bars and in jail. He's in prison. He's not going to get out. These are questions that everybody has. We all want answers. Janine Nash, thank you for the super chat. Super sticker. Thank you for the $5. Ron Daniels, thank you for the $20 super sticker. I'm like, hold on. Super stickers are coming in. And they're tongue twisting me. Anthony Candela, a great friend from upstate New York, a correction officer. Thank you for the $20 super sticker. We appreciate what you do behind the walls. Stay safe. I want to also say hello to Jackie Vineyard. Jackie has had some major surgery and she's recovering. She's the gal who does all the chapters for us. She's a great friend of Crime Time with DutyRon. I'm trying to find her. Jackie, if you're still here. Oh, wait, I just saw her. Heaven to Betsy's. I want to highlight her name, and the chat just keeps going crazy. All right, there she is. There's Jackie. Everybody wish Jackie a speedy recovery. She's on the mend, but she's had quite a bit of difficulties there. So let's send Jackie strength, prayers, positive vibes, and all that good stuff. And let's hope that she is feeling better sooner than later. We all love and respect Jackie, and we all love and respect everybody here. Thank you for the contributions. Thank you to the new channel members, the old channel members, the people who subscribe, everyone who hits that red subscribe button somewhere around here. We appreciate that. I want to say thank you to the replay viewers and all of the moderators who come in here and hang out with us. Tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, the good news is that I took it upon myself to do a redirect. So once this live stream is over, you guys will be redirected to the nighttime 9 o'clock live stream. So go over there when it redirects you to it and hit the little notification bell, hit that reminder. And then when we go live at 9 o'clock, hopefully you'll see you there, because we're going to talk about CODIS, the combined DNA indexing system. We're going to talk about the autopsy and how this is undetermined and inconclusive. The tox exam, Barbara, this is her job. This is what she did for a long, long time. So she's going to give it to us straight up. Me as a detective, Ed worked in the medical examiner's office. This stuff, this terminology and what goes on in forensics at the medical examiner's office is beyond my pay grade. So that's why we get these experts to come in and give us an education. So tonight will be another educational live stream on Cassie Carli, and we're going to get info. We're going to get answers to our questions. Send in your questions to DutyRon.com. I'll put it up on the screen so you guys have it. So send the questions to DutyRon.com, and I will ask them live on the show tonight when we have Barbara come on with us. And until then, I want to wish you guys a good evening. Everyone that's here on the East Coast and, in the adjoining time zones, have a great dinner. Get your coffee and get your cups of cup of tea, a cup of coffee, or whatever your favorite beverage is, and we'll see you at 9 p.m. Eastern. But let me just scan the chat before I say goodbye to everybody. If you are new and first time coming in on Crime Time with DutyRon, please let us know by putting a new in the chat. And I'd like to say hello to the new folks. I'll link JB's live stream. It was like about an hour and 19 minutes, but a lot of it was just waiting for him to come on and stuff like that. So I'll link JB's chat live stream in the description, so you guys can go check that out. But let me know if you're new. I'd like to say hello to you. A notebook and a pen is a good suggestion. Yes, gonna have to take a lot of notes. Richard Hodge says, I can't wait for tonight. Lexi says, until tonight, stay safe. I like it. Pineapple Slushy is here. Breakfast for Rosie. I don't know where you are, Rosie, but it's dinner time over here. Jersey Girl, I love it. She says, notebook and pen ready for class tonight with DutyRon and Ed Wallace and Barbara Butcher. It's exactly what it's going to be, and it's going to, listen, here, Nancy Furman, she says that this is so bewildering. But after we talk with Barbara and Ed, I think a lot of us will have a better idea and a better understanding of what science can and can't do. And we're going to get it. We're going to get it from Barbara. You know how that goes. It's going to be unbelievable. She's going to give us quite a bit of information. All right. And I'm going to have a special guest that I can't tell you is going to be joining us. It's potentially someone who you guys know that have been on with us in the past. And hopefully she can join us tonight. So that's our, that's my little, I let up a little bit of the secret. I said she. Hopefully she can join us. If you can figure out who our special guest is besides Barbara, put it down below in the comments. And whoever puts it first in the comment section, the very first comment of who it is, and if you get it right, I'm going to send you out a DutyRon pen, Crime Time with DutyRon pen. I don't know where. Oh, here it is. Here's a pen. So the first one that can put it down in the comment section, not in the live chat, will win a DutyRon pen. So let's do it. Oh, upside down. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Peace and love. As I always like to end these things, God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, especially all the victims of crime and their families. We send Cassie Carli's family strength, prayers, and positive vibes. Let's get justice for Cassie. And I'll talk to you tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. Peace from DutyRon.